Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I really try not to criticize the President of the United States, but every time he does something clown-like, I have to kind of go, what on earth are you doing, Brother Donald? All right, and this is what I'm talking about. Headline says this: Donald signs executive order for a single national AI regulation standard, blocking states from enforcing their own. Dr. Bradley, I'm having a problem with this on a variety of fronts. Number one, I don't think Congress has any authority whatsoever in regulating, controlling AI as a centralized position. Number one, there's no constitutional authority for this whatsoever. Secondarily, even if we want to say that the government can be involved there, it would require congressional guidance, not just a presidential executive order. This is insane and will just be overturned by the next president, or all I'm telling you is disaster, Doctor. It sounds simple, sounds like Donald Trump's trying to get ahead of it, but I think he's going about it all wrong, sir.
Well, absolutely correct. I mean, the powers that are delegated are few and defined. And I don't know how many times I've read the Constitution, a bunch, and I cannot see any inference anywhere at any time in any place that virtually everything the government's doing right now has any authority. I mean,
and what they would say about AI is, well, AI wasn't around when the old farmers, they didn't have a clue about that kind of stuff. Sam, come on, this has to be a living, breathing document to deal with modern time realities, and I reject that notion. Number one, I agree they didn't know about AI, but AI is no different than any other technology of their day or anything else. Okay, just because new technology comes out, or just because a gun gets greater capacity or greater range, or that doesn't mean all of a sudden the founding fathers are clueless and they didn't know. Okay, we're talking about things that relate. Now, if you want to change the Constitution because you really believe it needs to deal with AI, fine. What do you got to do? 2/3 of the Congress, 3/4 of the states to get that kind of stuff done? Okay, all I'm telling you is, folks, you cannot just as president go, hey, I'm going to stop the states from doing anything they want to with AI, and I'm going to control it all. Where do you get authority to do that? That's my question.
Well, they don't have the authority. And what's really interesting is the fact that this Constitution is technology agnostic. It has to do with delegation of authority, limits and bounds, checking the government from overstepping and implementing a tyranny. And so they set it up to act within certain bounds and no further. Because if you get interpolating this, you can interpolate it right out of existence. And
you can interpolate yourself into anything else under the sun if you're not very careful too. What we need, in my opinion, is a private consortium, a private nonprofit, organizational group that could kind of set some standards, and then states and or companies could adhere to those standards. We can do all this stuff in the private sector, Doctor, if we want to.
We could, and really, we're kind of two steps beyond, if you will. I mean, the general government, the federal government, the national government, whatever we want to call it, is way out of bounds on this thing. And if it's to be regulated, and I put quotes up, but you didn't see my air fingers go up. If it's to be regulated, it would be regulated at the state and local level. And they say, oh, no, this is something that crosses all boundaries and everything like that. Well, a lot of things cross boundaries.
Yeah, like your insurance coverage and all that kind of stuff. But again, the general government has no authority to be involved there either. Both bills yesterday failed, just like I predicted. The Rand-Paul bill never even saw the light of day. So it's a clown show from the get-go. And what we have is government bureaucrats trying to, take too much power is the problem. But Thomas Massie doing a great job trying to rein this in. Thomas Massie has a bill to withdraw the United States from NATO. You guys talked about that last night, right, Doctor?
We did indeed, and it's a bill that I haven't read yet because as of yesterday, when I was looking through some of these things, the text had not been posted yet. But if it's typical of most of the stuff that Massie does, it's like a page and a half long, probably.
Yeah, it's well done, probably.
Yes, and it basically says we're shutting this down. For those of your viewers that don't know, that this NATO thing is a declaration of war in accordance to the United Nations, And the NATO is simply a regional arrangement of the United Nations, a war-making arm, and it takes from the United States the authority to decide which wars it's going to enter into, according to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11.
And let me stop you there just to say this. I appreciate Massey's bill. Sadly, I think it's necessary. But withdraw the United States from NATO. The United States should never be part of NATO. All NATO does is breach the sovereignty of the United States and violate the delegated responsibilities of Congress.
There's no question about that. It's not just with warfare, but it has to do with sovereign nations and supranational organizations that interfere in the internal affairs of a nation. And that's exactly what brought about World War I, all the entangling alliances for that. And it's exactly what got us into Korea. Truman says, this thing in North Korea and South Korea, man alive, we've got to be there because the United Nations says it. And so we go to war and tens of thousands of people die, millions of Koreans, and then we fight to a standstill. I mean, it's basically a complete wash. And none of it follows the constitutional authority. And we could prove to the cows come home, the intent of the founding fathers was that they were not going to allow any of these entangling alliances or supranational arrangements that would interfere with our ability to decide when and where we went to war, if we were going to go to war. Is the war just? Can we afford it? I mean, the Congress has got to get together. It's the most onerous thing a nation does is go to war. And this NATO thing, it went into effect in April of 1949, and it's what really caused the Ukraine war. There's so many things wrong with it. We're going to get sucked into a war if Poland or somebody decides to shoot down a Soviet aircraft and everybody starts throwing punches. We'll be in a war because it says any member of NATO that gets in a scrape, we're all in the scrape, and we respond militarily. And I could look it up quickly and read you what Article 5 says, but we're bound and legally liable to go to war if one member of the NATO gets in war. It's a foolish, stupid,
and we should never, ever, ever agree to that kind of thing. And the problem is Congress doesn't even have authority to turn that over to a foreign entity, whatever that be, whether it be NATO, whether it be the World Economic Forum, whether it be, the International World Courts or bankers or anybody else. There's no authority to do that. In fact, they'll say, well, we did it by a treaty or we did it by this and that. You would say, well, hey, that supersedes the Constitution. That's a lie. The only thing that can supersede the Constitution is treaties that are constitutionally justifiable. In other words, you've got to follow the Constitution even when you put treaties together, Doctor.
Well, absolutely. A treaty is not any way, shape, or form have the ability to supersede the Constitution. There's a 1957 Supreme Court case, Reed v. Covert, in which the Supreme Court overruled itself. It initially ruled that treaties could overrule the Constitution. And then it went, wait. And it went to the people that had brought it and said, bring that back again. We want to talk to you again about that. And they overturned themselves. And they said,
it's a disgrace, ladies and gentlemen, and they should jealously hold on to their power, but they don't. Congress is literally doing nothing is the problem. Moving right along to Thomas Massey's second effort. Thomas Massey in the House and Senator Mike Lee in the Senate put companion bills to get us out of the Federal Reserve. Yeah, they introduced legislation to abolish the Federal Reserve. The bill's titled the Federal Reserve Board Abolition Act. Because remember, there's weird nuance. This is kind of a weird quasi-private but yet government thing. So they control the board, not necessarily the Federal Reserve. So they want to get rid of the board. The bill, known in its, 2025, 2026 iteration or incarnation, it's H.R. 1846 in the House. And I guess the companion bill in the Senate is S. 869. 869, ladies and gentlemen. The legislation also would repeal the 1913 Federal Reserve Act that originally, and I would say unconstitutionally, created the system, Doctor.
Well, this bill was brought forth by both Massey and Lee in March. And it's just recently had another, shall we say, co-sponsor join it in the House, and so it's got a little bit of press lately. I think Massey's bill in the House, there's 11 co-sponsors, I'm pretty sure. Lee doesn't have any. I mean, here we have.
Yeah, where's Rand Paul? I mean, I don't understand that.
Well, I don't know either. I mean, here it is, March. It was brought out. It's months ago, and it still hasn't grown any legs. They've been kind of shelved in a committee and everything like that. It's a couple of these bills are really good bills. By the way, this one, the text is out. It's a very brief bill, and it has a very cogent manner in which it shuts down the Board of Governors and the Federal Reserve Act and pays off the people that have got jobs there. I mean, it's thought of things pretty well, and then it goes away, poof, gone. And the thing that's interesting is we've had two other national banks before, so to speak, two other Federal Reserves. Sounds like we've got to take a break here, Sam. I don't.
There were two former attempts to try to steal our honest money supply and pervert it into a fiat failure. But nevertheless, both bills, by the way, are currently the referred committee stage, which means nothing has been done on them. No markups, no floor votes, no committee review, nothing. They've just sat there and rotted. Sad but true. When you think the Republicans want to restore the Republic, hey, Donald, hey, Congress, the way to do it is to jettison dishonest money, okay? Return to the constitutional currency that created the greatest economic engine the world's ever known, would you please? All right, I'm Sam Bushman. LovingLiberty.net is our syndicator. We're grateful for them and their support and all the stations up and down the line, TV, radio, platforms everywhere. You're watching and listening to Liberty Roundtable Live. Thanks for being alongside for the ride. God save the Republic of the United States of America.